Hi, and welcome to Gladiator Guild Manager. I'm your host, Timer. Now, Gladiator Guild Manager is a game I picked up a couple weeks ago. It is an auto battler, as the name suggests. You are going to be purchasing and growing up and leveling gladiators to use in an arena to fight with the NPCs. Now, I did actually finish the game yesterday on the easy mode right here, and I enjoyed it so much, I thought, you know what, I do have to play it again. And also, there are a couple of things that I think the tutorial kind of glosses over really quickly and makes it difficult for people to kind of figure out what's going on in the beginning. So I thought I would do a little bit of a gameplay and explain some of those things in more detail so people can make plans for if they want to give this game a try. Now, the game itself is available for both a campaign and a tournament mode. The campaign mode is the basic gameplay where you're going to go along, do the storyline, and if you haven't played before, that's probably the better place to start. The tournament mode is, as it suggests right there, an endless, where after you're familiar with it, you're going to be able to set up, compete with your gladiators, and you are going to be competing against other players in score. So something probably better saved for later. So for now, we are going to kick off a new campaign, and you can see the one here is the one I just completed. That was on normal difficulty. So now we're going to start a new game, and this time around, instead of normal, I'm going to try it on hard difficulty. We're going to save Nightmare and Hell for possibly later on. So we're going to leave the tutorial on because they're going to do a pretty good job of explaining the key things. Then I'm going to leave it on blue. And you have an option here to start with random gladiators in the beginning if you want. You're going to have access to 3. The default is going to be the Knight, the Archer, and the Berserker here. And there are a whole bunch of gladiators. I'll just kind of quickly show you the list. It looks like there's, 23, 25. Looks like 25 gladiators available right now. It'd be great if the developers over time kind of kept adding them, because a lot of these guys are very interesting. And sometimes you kind of get distracted while you're playing because you just want to try a few of them out. But for now, we're going to leave it at these 3. And the other very important feature at the beginning of the game to consider is right here, the permanent death mode. So for those of you who've played these kinds of games before, permadeath just means that if one of your gladiators were to go down in a fight and not be resurrected, you would lose them forever. And underneath is the gold compensation. So if you were to lose a gladiator, you will get some of the money back. You can adjust the slider up and down to make it, if you select permanent death, you can go from 0, which would be very, very rough, all the way up to 70%. But if you're not yet familiar with the game, permanent death is, while very exciting, it actually is very difficult. If you were to just accidentally have one bad fight at the beginning, you could knock yourself out for quite a while. So we're gonna leave that off for now. So we've got a Knight, Archer, and Berserker, and let's go ahead and give it a start.
So, you're the new guild owner, I hear. Welcome to Deadwoods.
Hey, what happened to the previous owner?
Turns out he didn't have the stomach for this kind of thing. But left a few buildings we can make use of. Take a look around.
Alright, got it.
Anyway, I'm Slen, your guild assistant.
Oh, nice to meet you, Slun.
Let me give you a heads up. Gladiator championships are organized at the start of each month.
Okay.
Then there's the old arena named the Ring of Death. We can join the action there each week. They organize a variety of different fight types.
Ring of Death, huh? How appropriately named. Well, you know what? I would like you to tell me more about this another time.
Of course. I'll tell you about it soon.
Okay.
And lastly, the Deadwoods has its fair share of problems. Bandits, beasts, feral undead. So expect to be contacted and asked for deadly gladiator services outside of the arena.
Sure. Let's get started. Hire some gladiators.
All right, lad. You can get gladiators and items here. In the guild menu, you can increase gladiator and item slots, buy new buildings to allow trait and item upgrades, or unlock new gladiators. This is the Ring of Death Arena, which you can join each week. New quests will appear up here. And finally, your timeline. Press the fast forward button, or press space to start it moving.
All right. Well, it looks like he's going to want us to buy some gladiators. They are going to sit down here. We've got slot for 4 in the beginning. And up here, there's a lot of things to look at on the screen, but for now, let's focus up here. This is where you will find your resources. We have 650 gold. So let's open up the gladiator market and take a look at what we have available. Now, the gladiators up here come in sort of 2 model shades. The ones that are bright and lit up, the Berserker, the Knight, and the Archer up here, these are the 3 that we chose to start with at the beginning, and those are the ones that we are allowed to buy. Now, you are also going to have a number of gladiators that are not available for purchase yet. So, for example, this Purifier, this Warlock over here, and this Druid over here. Now, these guys are randomly chosen as the up-and-coming gladiators that you might buy if you were to pick up the appropriate building. So, for example, a Warlock needs a Warlock crypt. So, for now, let's focus on the ones that we can purchase, and we're going to do a real quick look at probably, we've got $650, and if you notice, a lot of these guys cost roughly in the $150 range. They are cheaper if they are lower level, of course. So it looks like we can buy maybe 3 or 4 of these guys to begin with. Another thing to pay attention to, in addition to the gladiator market, there is also an item market down here. And these items are going to start at the beginning of the game very low level. So here's a level 1 ring, boosts intelligence by 2. Got some boots over here, level 2 boots. And the items that do not show a level, so this one, for example, these are called universal items. Universal items, it doesn't mean that it's usable by anyone. All of the items in the game are usable by anyone. It just means that instead of sort of like a piece of equipment, it's more like a trinket. And not only can you put it on anyone, it is also upgradable. It has the familiar green, blue, purple color scheme of basic, intermediate, and advanced item. Now, equipment comes in 2 forms. You have your standard ordinary. These can be put on anybody. And then you also have what are called consumables. Each gladiator is allowed to use 1 consumable at a time. They are automatically used whether or not they're needed. So for example, if you put a minor health potion on your gladiator, he will drink that whether he gets hit or not. So do be aware of that. Now this thing reflects 15% of melee damage that this gladiator takes. This is pretty good. This is a good item to have for your tanks. Downside is 275 gold. That is the cost of approximately 2 gladiators. Little rich for our blood right now. So we just want to be aware that we've got a nice strength axe available. Looks like a pair of boots for movement and stamina. This, in fact, is actually a good time to show you another feature of these markets. Both of them work the same way. You'll notice these arrows down at the bottom. What it basically means is that every time there's an update, whether you do so manually by pushing this, or whether you allow time to pass and you hit these time marks, so this one means that the gladiator market will update. What it does is all of the items printed up here will drop by a row. So this fella will disappear whether you do an update here or down here. The updates that are manual are free at first, but the cost increases each time you press this. So for example, I'm not going to want to buy this right now, and nothing is immediately going to fall off. So I'm actually going to update one time just to take a look. It looks like we picked up a new staff, intellect staff, and level 1 agility bow. Great, nice. Since perhaps I might be interested in, I'm actually just going to leave it, and also I'm cheap. I don't want to pay the $10 right now. The cost to do this manual upgrade is actually going to reset a couple of levels every time the month passes. So you don't really want to go overboard with this in the beginning, especially when you're broke. So, all right, now that we have an understanding of the kind of money we're dealing with, let's take a look at what we have. Now, the knights, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 level 2s. I definitely would prefer a level 2, so let's take a look at these. Now, the heroes here, there's a whole lot going on the screen, so let's do a quick sort of a definition of what everything is. On the left, these are the 2 item slots that you come with. This is the slot for your consumables. These are the abilities that your gladiator has. The knight has 2, the melee attack and the shield block. Pretty standard for a character who's sort of a hybrid tank melee fighter. Each character also will have a main stat, either described as strength, agility, or intelligence. So, you know, knight's strength-based, pretty much what you would expect. And the stats here are pretty much standard for this kind of fare. You've got your strength, agility, intelligence. You are going to have strength, agility, intelligence-based heroes, many of each. Health, that's your life. And stamina and movement. Movement is just the value that describes how fast your character will run around the screen if they're so inclined. And stamina is probably the thing that requires a little bit of explanation. Each of the abilities might have a stamina cost. So this guy's melee attack costs 30 stamina. And he's going to start with 195. Now, during the combat, you are going to recover this slowly. So he will have more than this available to him in an actual combat. But roughly, not a lot. You will run out of stamina if you don't spend time boosting this as you level up. So, with a stamina cost of 30, this guy's going to be able to use 6. And then by the time he uses 6, he's probably going to gain some more stamina. So basically, he's going to be able to hit 7 or 8 of these melee attacks before he runs out of stamina. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you are going to be in what you expect to be a longer fight, you are going to have to pay attention to this. All right, and workers have a price, and they will have a wage. This is largely dependent on the level and whether or not they have a trait down here. As you level, you will have space for more, but at the beginning of the game, they only have 1. Traits are basically, there's a giant list of them, and the gladiators can come with a random one or not. Later on in the game, you will have the ability to change these or upgrade these. You'll see this is a level 1 anti-capitalist right now. But at the beginning of the game does gatekeep some of the more complicated things, so you're not going to be able to do that at the beginning. So, let's take a look. Anti-capitalist gains 25% strength bonus, but loses 1% for every 100 gold that you have, down to a minimum of -20. So, while we are broke, and we are probably going to spend down to under 100 right now, this is pretty nice. He's going to have a 25% bonus to his strength. However, that will not last. We will pick up money and resources as we play, and there will come a point when it's very difficult to spend down your money. You literally would be forced to waste it. This is not a good stat to have for the long term. Also, the more traits and the higher trait levels these guys have, the higher their cost. So that's another factor. If the trait is not useful, you do not want to pay for it. So this guy's not a good choice. Let's look at number 2. This is what it looks like when he has no trait. So you'll notice his wage is a little lower, his cost is a little lower. So he's all right. Wouldn't hurt to have a good trait. Nope, no trait on this guy. And actually, we can see this one does. Is he another anti-capitalist? Yes, he is. No good, no good. All right. So 2 knights available at level 2 with no traits. 8 strength, 13 strength. You know what? I'm going to take this guy for 150. Alright, start with the tank. And now I would like a berserker. And if we look at the screen, this knight, who we did not want, is the only one, and this level 1, is the only one at risk of falling off. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my update right now. There we go. So we got a couple other berserkers in here. It looks like we have 4 to choose from. You have... Can't be set on fire. Alright. Probably not a lot of fire in the beginning of the game. No trait. What about you? No trait. And you are swift. Movement speed increased by 8 and push-pull forces are 50% weaker on you. I don't know. That's not... It's good, but it's not... I don't think it's something I want to pay for right now. We are pretty broke. So I think I'm going to choose one of these traitless ones. I also don't think the fireproofing is that useful yet. 15, 13, it's got more health. This guy's got more stamina. You know what? For 2 points of strength, I'll take this guy. Alright, Durgash. Join the group. Alright, and finally, it would be nice to have an archer. We've got this one with no trait. This one also can't be set on fire. You know what? I really don't care about that. I think I'm going to take you. No trait. Okay. Alright, so we are choosing one of each. Good way to start. I could buy another gladiator. However, I feel like it probably would be more effective to give them each a couple items rather than just throwing a 4th guy on. Because at the beginning of the game, most of your battles, you're not even going to be allowed to use 4 at a time. So, alright, so let's talk about 1 or 2 other things. We already took a look at the knight. So the berserker, let's see what he does. So a strength melee fighter, so pretty much a DPSer. And whereas the knight had a nice shield block ability, able to block 117, the berserker has a long axe, a punch that just does some damage, a kick that does 6 points, very little damage, but more importantly, he has a knockdown, so knocks down for 1.5 seconds. That could be very useful if he's in a slugfest with another, melee fighter. And finally, he weapon blocks for 19. Now, he has a little tiny bit of defense, but it is much smaller than what this guy does. This guy's going to block 117, so that's why he's the tank. And this guy is only gonna block 19. That is, that's far less. Now, the archer, meanwhile, probably a DPSer. She is ranged, main stat agility, makes sense. She's got an arrow shoot, which is a projectile type attack, 93 damage with some accuracy. And she also has a dodge, so again, not very high, 31 points. And this is automatic. Now, wouldn't hurt to just kind of be aware she has a stamina cost of 22 for this ranged attack and a stamina of 245 to start. So looks like 10, 11 attacks, but you're going to recover a little bit of stamina, so let's just say 13, 14. She's going to be able to shoot off 13 or 14 arrows before running out of stamina. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, if the battle is going to go longer, that might be a real problem. Alright, now, one other thing I would like to talk about before getting into the first fight is the game has a series of tooltips that are a little unintuitive to use. If you hover over the statistic to strength, it only says in the ability panel, roll over numbers with white rectangles, like damage, to see how those stats are affecting it. Well, that means if you hover over here, we can see that her shoot arrow damage of currently 93 is formed from the stats of a base of 25 and then 4 times your strength, 4 times your agility. So shoot arrow for her is going to increase both agility and strength equally. And her accuracy, which is 80% default, is going to increase with her agility. So this is one of the reasons why she's considered an agility character rather than a strength character. But the truth is, once your agility hits a certain point, this is going to max out, and really her damage is going to increase whether it's strength or agility. She doesn't actually care that much. However, there are other things at play here, which is the execution time and the cooldown. So the execution time of basically 1 second, that, if I'm not mistaken, is going to reflect how long it takes her, once she commits to using a shoot arrow move, to actually pull it off. This is probably going to be in the graphical representation of her pulling her arrow and launching it, something like that. It starts at a base 1 second and improves with agility, and then the cooldown is going to be how much time that the character probably has to spend twiddling their thumbs before they can launch the next arrow. So this has a base of a half a second and a minimum of 0.1 second. 0.1 second at that point is practically no cooldown. Now, what I gather from these numbers is that between your execution time and your cooldown, that is basically a reflection of how frequently you are going to be able to use this ability, basically 1 cycle time. So the archer starts with a 1 second execution time and a 0.5 second base. That means she's going to be shooting a new arrow every 1.5 seconds to start. Now, this is going to be something that players will look at and you are going to want to plan around. But I do want to take this opportunity to emphasize that this is not, like, you actually need to pay attention to the numbers, because you can't just kind of go, okay, agility is going to make her faster, intellect is going to make her faster, alright, I kind of want a little bit of everything. The agility, if we look specifically at the count, is each point is going to make a difference of 0.002. So that is a very small number. That means if I were to put 100 points into her agility, that is actually only going to net out to 0.2 seconds. So 0.2 seconds is going to lower her base from 1 second to 0.8. That's only going to get her halfway to that minimum. So in order to go all the way down to an execution time of 0.6, that actually is going to require that I put 200 points into agility. Now, don't get me wrong, I am going to want to do that, and I'm probably going to want to do that as soon as I can. However, just understand that it's going to take her a long time and a lot of level ups to hit that 200 points of agility. But if we take a look at her cooldown level, well, this time it's intelligence, but it's 0.067, which means that it is only going to take 3 points of intelligence to hit that same 0.2 seconds. And if she did have 3 points of intelligence, her cooldown would already drop to 0.30, halfway down to her min. So, whereas it took 200 points of agility to get her all the way down on execution, it's only going to take 6 points of intelligence to get her all the way down to 0.1 on intellect. So, 200 points of agility, 6 points of intellect. Obviously, she's going to be able to hit that 6 intellect much, much faster. So the thing to understand is that even though agility is a main stat, that certainly does not mean that that's the only thing you should focus on. In fact, once we level her, the first thing I'm going to want to do is get her intellect up to 6, which will make her DPS go way up just because she's that much faster. So that's something very important to actually pay attention to with each of these characters as you play. So, the Berserker, meanwhile, let's just take a quick look. He's going to do most of his damage through his axe attack. And this thing is, wow, this thing is totally based on strength. 14 multiplier on strength and only 1 on agility. Now, I'm guessing agility is going to make him faster. It does. But again, 0.003. That's a very small amount. This is going to take like 150 points of agility to get all the way down to 0. And meanwhile, each time you improve his speed, you're giving up 13 multiplier in strength. So we're probably not going to worry too much about execution speed. He's just going to want to wallop people over the head with that axe. And similarly, cooldown based on intelligence. It looks like 10 points of intelligence will improve half a second. So 20 intelligence will get you all the way down to a 0.5 cooldown, improving your time by 1 full second. So whereas 1.5 base and a 1, So he will go from a 2.5-second cycle time to a 1.5-second cycle time. That is a massive improvement in DPS. Similarly, we are going to want to get his intelligence up to that base level, enough to get up there, before we even worry about the strength. His punch is, honestly, his long axe is going to be where the bulk of the damage comes from. His punch improves with agility and strength at a slower rate. It's probably going to be the thing he does when he runs out of stamina. And a kick damage is pretty much irrelevant for the kick. 6, I mean, even if we improve upon the 6, it's really about the knockdown. Being able to knock down the opposing melee fighter before he knocks you down sometimes is going to be the difference maker. So that's basically what this attack is for. And weapon block, pretty small, not too significant. Now, one final thing. I want to take a look at this range. Minimum range, 1.1. Maximum range of 1.7. Similarly to this guy, minimum range, 1.3. The shoot arrow ability, she can shoot as far as she wants, but this minimum means that if someone is within that, you are not allowed to use that ability. Now, for him, that isn't necessarily a crippler because he's going to switch over to his punch. It's not as effective, but it's still something. But if anyone gets in on her, so if like a melee fighter were to get right in her face, then you have to understand that she's got a problem. And that is where the movement is going to come in. So, that is something to consider once we take the field. Alright, now we have our 3 gladiators. Let's pick up some items. I think I want this. Oh my god, 105. Yikes. 70. You know what? You gotta do what you gotta do. Let's pick up an axe for our DPSer. Let's pick up a bamboo bow. And, when you can't afford it, it'll go red. Alright, so we're gonna drag this onto him. I'm gonna stick the bow on her. So now he has this. Gives a 4 boost. She has this, so they're each a little bit stronger. Alright, let's take a try at this Ring of Death now. Let's see what this is all about. Alright, now the Ring of Death is going to be something you can do once per week, and you are going to start with 4 options. 1v1, 2v2, few v1, 3v3. So, fight in which you will have a few gladiators and the enemy will have only one but very strong gladiator. I find that if you outnumber the opponent, that is one of the things that makes fights a little easier. So we're going to start off with that. Alright, and now here we come to the point of all of this, the combat arena. So here's our level 3 opponent. He's a purifier. If you wanted to, you can click on him and see what he does, but basically he is a ranged fighter. 14, he's going to shoot us with a burning light, and it looks like he has a knockdown when we get close. Alright, so you will start by putting this maximum number of gladiators, so it's going to allow 3. We're going to want all our guys on here. And our tanky boy is going to start off in the front. We're going to hit this guy a little bit behind him because I don't want his first attack. I want him to be against the knight. And since her range is infinite, we're just going to throw her all the way in the back here. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this format is that the game physics is such that when you shoot projectiles, they will go through your teammates and not impact them. But when an opponent shoots a projectile, it will hit the first person it touches. So for example, if he were to shoot something and his target were the archer in the back, this formation will actually have the bullet just kind of hitting him in the face and it'll impact him. So that's why I'm kind of standing all these guys in a row. Now, real quickly, I'm going to click Gladiator Info up here to bring up this grid. So earlier we saw things like range and movement. This is what it refers to. The axe guy, he had a minimum range of 1.1 and a range of 1.7. So right here. That means that if an opponent is closer than this one grid, he will not be able to hit it with the long axe attack. So the long axe really is targeting someone standing about this far away. And that makes sense. If you look at it graphically, he's got this big giant axe. He's going to swing it about here and boink, thunk the guy in the head there. All right, so that is something you can take a look at if you need to. But for now, we are going to just launch the fight. And there's a slider here to change the speed. Ooh, there's his knockdown. Our archer is doing his best, but his attack is kind of roasting her alive. But luckily, we got enough guys to take him down before he finishes our archer off. So after your fight, you get this little screen. And it's basically going to tell you how much damage your opponents dealt and took and healed, and your side as well. So if we notice, the archer, of course, is going to be the one who did all the damage in that fight because she's ranged, she got to start right away, whereas our two guys took a while to walk up to her. This 7 damage looks like her little knockback effect, and the damage taken was mostly that blinding light searing her face. Now, this screen, eventually, you're not going to need very much. However, the only thing to pay attention to is this right here. Lacking stamina. The percentage of time spent in battle while lacking stamina for an ability and waiting for it to restore. This will tell you if a fight goes so long that your gladiator ends up twiddling his or her thumbs off in the corner somewhere waiting for a stamina recovery before doing something. So you always want to take a quick glance at this after the fight to recognize if some of your gladiators need more stamina while you're leveling up. So something to pay attention to. All right. That's our first battle. The reward for the Ring of Death is going to be a consumable. So it's open. Hey, look at that. We got an apple. Increased stamina by 150, but it's a one-time use. And we get some gold and some mana crystals up here, which I will show you what those are for later, as well as these hammers and saw and chisel. All right, so that was our first fight in the Ring of Death, and that is going to be available every 7 days. Once you are set, we did get a little bit more money, but I don't think there was anything in the item market we really needed just yet. These intellect rings, we don't have a character that needs them. So once you're ready, you go ahead and press play, and time will pass. Now, one other thing I do want to point out about this as we roll up to the Gladiator market update is there is a weather indicator up here. Blue means clear weather. This actually will affect the statistics of gladiators in a fight, so it is something to pay attention to. All right, let's take a look at our events.
If some of your gladiators die, don't worry. Temple of Revival sits within the guild, resurrecting gladiators. But it takes some time. However, should you want to bring them back to life instantly, it will cost you mana crystals.
So I can just revive them at any point?
Yes, even in the middle of championships. Comes in handy.
All right, it sure will. And let's take a look at this.
I recall you wanted me to tell you more about the Ring of Death Arena, yes?
Sure, that's right.
Well, Deadwoods has quite a disturbing history. You're new here, but you'll find out eventually about the infamous Crimson Storm and all the rest.
Really sounds interesting.
Indeed. Now, regarding the Ring of Death, it was an arena built by dwarves back in days far more glorious and rich, back when the region was known as Mana Bay.
I see. Continue.
The arena, as of today, is in horrible state of decay, though currently it's used to organize all kinds of private fights. This is a great opportunity to profit while waiting between each monthly championship.
Got it. All right. So the Gladiator market did update. We can see the new guys who've rolled in the top. We got another archer in here with, looks like no trait. We are out of money anyway, so we're not going to need to do that. So let's roll on forward. There's a fast forward also if you want to. All right. Now, in the settings menu down in the gear here, you can change whether you want different pop-ups to actually auto-pause the game for you. So I do have it set so that if the Ring of Death becomes available, I will immediately see it, and that's why it just kind of popped up right here. So we did a few v1. Let's do something a little fancier. Time to try a 3v3. All right, now instead of one level 3 guy, we're now battling 3 knights. Now, knights are the thing is, if you are familiar with these types of games, the problem is that tanks really never do any damage. So the likelihood is that these guys are simply not going to be punchy enough to do anything to us. So I am going to, yeah, so I'm going to set up our gladiators back here. And here's something to learn about the game, which makes it very interesting. In addition to being able to choose how you set them up, you also have this up here called priority points. When this toggle is turned on, you can click on a gladiator to instruct which targets they should focus on. Click and drag with the right click to select multiple gladiators. Hold the control key to keep adding gladiators to this selection. Alright, so what we would like to do is we would like to focus fire to take them down more quickly. So I'm going to move all these guys up here. So, with this clicked on, what I can do is holding control, I can highlight everyone, and I can say, hey, you know what? Let's kill him first, and let's kill, I don't know, whatever. Let's kill him last. And this way, what's going to happen is all 3 guys are going to focus on him. Then when he's gone, they're going to focus on him, and then they're going to focus on him last. So let's go ahead and start. Oh, if you can kind of catch the action, that axe attack is doing way more than everything else. So basically, every time he lands that thing, he's walloping one of the knights. Now, our knight is actually getting hit oh, actually, it's not our knight. It looks like our DPSer is the one getting hit. So, let's assess what happened real quickly. So, the enemy has 3 guys. We killed him first in 5 seconds. He basically didn't get to do much of anything. This is the second guy, did 152, and then the guy who we left alive obviously did the most. He actually ran out of stamina at the end there for a little bit. Now, for our guys, so the stats are going to indicate how much damage they did. So interestingly enough, our DPSer here did not do great. It's a little odd that our knight actually ended up doing more. I guess maybe what's happening is in the beginning when her agility's not high enough, she ends up missing a lot. And also if the targets are too mobile, there is a little bit of lag with the arrow. She probably missed a bunch of times because of that. Now, one of the things you're going to notice is, well, first, this knight of ours did indeed run out of stamina. Now, as a knight, it's not terrible if he can't, you know, launch his melee attack. That's certainly not going to be game-breaking. These 2 are the ones we rely on for damage anyway, so it's not a big deal. But it is definitely something to keep an eye on. When he levels, I am going to make a note, and we're going to boost up his stamina just a little bit. Now, this guy, he was our primary damage dealer. Nice job, sir. And you will notice that there is a little bit of danger here. He did lose half his health in that fight. He took 474 out of, let's see how much he actually has. Oh, let's go ahead and grab our, another apple. He did take 474 damage out of his 900, so he was half dead at the end. So one of the things to understand is that, yes, this guy is designed as a tank. That is true. But you will notice that he does not actually have any sort of taunt ability. So that is important to understand. You're actually going to have to manufacture the matchups a little bit with the way that you place your characters in the beginning. So that is one slight disadvantage of the knight. Now, we got some rewards, got another apple. Actually, 10 money. We could use more money, but there at the moment isn't anything we really need to buy. This is an intellect staff, another intellect ring. We don't really have an intellect character yet, and I mean, this is a lot of money just to get 50 stamina. That's not a lot of stamina. I'm not gonna grab those. So let's go ahead and continue. First thing that's gonna happen is the items are gonna update again. And looks like we got another bow, got another axe, got another axe. We could get an axe for our knight, but we are a little pressed for money. I think I'm going to leave it. We'll go ahead and fast forward to the next event. Oh, actually, here we go. killing the Rumor Whisperer.
We located one of the High Necromancer's rumor whisperers hiding in the village. I need you to take care of him.
Rumor Whisperer?
Yes, the dangerous men who spread even more dangerous lies.
What lies?
Lies about a red-haired, low-born she-elf witch who is going to bring doom upon the regions.
And the red-haired, low-born she-elf witch would be you?
Correct. Not good for the Deadwoods district, he says. Blames me for the Crimson Mist and pretty much anything bad that happens around here.
What nonsense. Alright, so here is the rewards and costs screen. When we take this on and win, get a little bit of money. So this is a picture of her up top, plus 20, and this is the cost, 30. These refer to the reputation levels up here. This game's storyline has 3 factions: the people, the Baroness, and the High Necromancer. The first time I played this game, just sort of by default, I decided to side with the people, mostly because they're on the left. And whoever you side with ends up giving you more quests. And as you gain more reputation, your rewards will start going up and up. And some of the most interesting quests kind of make you pick and choose. So, like, if we choose to help her, you know, the High Necromancer is going to get very mad at us because I guess this is his rumor whisperer. So for this playthrough, you know what, I think I'm just going to choose that. I'm going to side with her. I'm going to help the Baroness this time around. So you can take a quick look at what this guy does. He's got a giant pod on his head. I guess he's probably a transplant from Plants vs. Zombies. He's got a punch, doesn't do much damage, but he has 900 health. He's kind of a tank type, and he has a massive shield. After taking 580 damage, his wooden shield breaks apart. Okay? Now, this would be an easy fight, except for one little problem right here. This is the number of gladiators you're allowed to use. This is a 1v1. So, we are going to take this on, and the only person who's going to even remotely stand a chance is this guy. And in fact, I'm ever so slightly nervous. I'm not even sure we're going to win. I'm going to give you a stamina apple. Alright, so, whoop, I don't need to set priorities because there's only one opponent. So, this guy is really just big and beefy. It's just going to take a lot of time to whittle him down. And in order for us to do what's needed, we are going to have to spend a lot of time using our axe attack, which has a min range of 1-1, whereas this guy's going to want to get close and use punches. So, I'm going to set him back a little bit, and we're going to hope this works. Oh, that's a block. Oh, knockdown. Thank God. Alright, so looks like that's going to be the combo. Every time the cooldown for our knockdown is available, we're going to kick him, knock him down, and then whammo with the axe. Now, if you look at this gray bar under here, that's going to be the character's stamina. Our stamina is actually doing quite okay. So, it turns out I did not need to get him. Oh, wow. You did better than I expected. You get to rock out to the guitar, my man. Alright, so 900 damage dealt. We only took 96 back. We kind of knew that. The issue was whether we were going to run out of stamina. Looks like we were fine there. Excellent.
No more whispering from him.
Yep, it's all taken care of. Now, we get to choose one reward. You know what? We are a little broke at the moment, so I'm going to grab money for now. Alright, so got $100 for that. You'll notice our reputation with the Necromancer went down 30 and up 20 here. And our event is done. Let's go ahead and... Ring of Death again. Okay, now, the Ring of Death has 4 options to choose from. However, if you look down here, create new battle choices, you can actually re-roll these. And there is a cost in the beginning, but every time you do a fight, it drops down. And after you've chosen 2 of these options, it will actually drop down to 0. So if you don't want to do a 2v2 or a 1v1, you can actually just reset it. I tend to, in the beginning of the game, fights are always riskier when you only have one or two of the functions, so I tend to always want to use all three of my guys if I can in the beginning. So I'm gonna re-roll for, yeah, another feud versus one. I think 3-on-1 is always, oh, same guy. Bringing light. So he's gonna do the same thing. He's gonna bring a light into our archer. So no matter what we do, he's gonna hit her. So we're gonna want you guys as close as humanly possible. So now we know we're gonna rely a lot on his knockdown. So we want him as close as can be. And I don't think stamina is gonna be an issue with only one opponent. So here we go. Go ahead, run on over. Knock her down. Whoops. Oh yeah, she's got a knockdown too. Come on, finish her off, yeah. Our archer's getting lasered in the face again. Alright, so this time, because we put him a little closer, his DPS is better than it was last time we did this fight. So now they're both looking like true DPSers. And unfortunately, even though he's the quote-unquote tank, that this guy does get to choose to attack whoever he wants, so he kind of lasered our archer in the face. That's alright, we were able to take him down fast enough. Carrot this time, movement speed. I don't know that I care about movement speed one time. Let's just sell it off. Alright, let's keep going. Oh, we just got an update of some sort. Aha. No trait. This guy has blocking or dodging, increases strength by 10% to a max of 50. It's okay, it's okay. But notice, man, he gets pricey. Just because he has that, instead of 150, his cost is 270. I don't know. It's a lot to pay for. Another anti-capitalist, I think that is. Yep. Now, why on earth is that trait more expensive than the anti-capitalist trait? Because you don't appear to have anything else going on other than this trait. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Nothing to see. Nothing to see. We're gonna get... Aha! So we did get an item update. We do have some money now. So the question is there anything that might be useful? Our knight can probably use some health. Alright, give you chest armor. And healing, oh, that's a strength potion. This is a healing potion. More intellect gear. Wow, this thing would be nice. Oh my god, we're just $10 off. Flex 15% of the damage. You know what? $10 off. Alright, give me $10 for that apple. This thing is next to drop off. I don't want that to happen. So you know what? Universal items are few and far between, so if you find one that is potentially useful, you should grab it. Let's go ahead and buy it. Alright, our knight is now going to be a reflector. Cool.
A pack of feral ghouls roam the forest near the village. I'd like you to dispose of them before further blame is foisted upon me.
What are feral ghouls, Slen?
Feral undead are those who have risen on their own and behave like wild beasts. They began to appear around a decade ago, along with the Crimson Mists.
Are normal undead, they're better?
Normally, necromancers raise the undead and bind them to mana crystals. Whoever holds the crystal, can control that undead.
Oh, and what do they do with all these undead on a leash?
They sell most of them to the Andarian army to help keep the borders safe. That's why the church is allowed to raise the dead without any restrictions.
Wow, what borders?
You're really new here, huh? Our district Deadwoods borders the Kingdom of Tyrell, and relations between our Kingdom of Andarian and Tyrell are not to be admired.
I see that I came to the wrong district to start a guild.
Well, but the thing is, they don't shy away from selling their undead to anybody who offers a better price.
Well, greedy bastards. Alright, you know what? Crimson Mist. Tell me more about the Crimson Mist. What is that?
It all started about 10 years ago, growing more and more common. Various rumors circulate as to their cause.
What kinds of rumors?
Some say that the High Necromancer is to blame, as his dark arts disturb the balance of nature. Others claim it's due to the influence of the Baroness.
The Baroness?
Well, it ain't customary in these parts for an elven woman to rule, much less a lowborn one. Suffice to say, The common folk don't see eye to eye with her.
Tell me more about this Baroness.
Sure, like I said, she's a low-born elf who charmed the Baron's son. When the elder Baron died, his son married her despite her social status.
Wow, how romantic.
Well, long story short, the young Baron died too, from a blighted forest troll of all things. Thus, the rulership of the Deadwoods fell to her.
Well, that took a turn. Alright, well, so we are up against ghouls, melee attack, melee fighter, so pretty much they're just gonna run and gun for someone. I'm gonna keep our archers back, and it looks like, oh, 2 available. I think it would be safer. I think it would be safer to use these 2, actually. I think if they both run for her and get up on her, she's not going to be able to shoot anymore, and that'll be all she wrote. Now, one thing I'm going to do, because he does not have a taunt, they can attack whoever they want. I think the danger will be if they go after the Berserker instead of our tank. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to move this item over to him, so that if they attack him, he will reflect damage to them, and it will just down them a little faster, which I think that, like I said, that's sort of the risk. If they go after our tank, we're probably not going to care. This is probably going to be an easy match. So this is just kind of covers your base a little bit. All right. Is one of you easier to kill? Looks like you're a little easier to kill, so we will target you, my friend. So we'll get you stabilized. Here we go. Oh yeah, that long axe, so deadly. Yeah, we're not even getting hurt. Oh, and there it is, the knight, see, out of stamina. Might not be that big of a deal now because these fights are so small and short, but I do think I want to start addressing it soon. So they did indeed go after the knight, so this was never a concern from day one. Wow, 71 DPS, pretty good.
Excellent work! There's nothing worse than cleaning up after another's mess.
Whose mess do you think this is?
The Church of the Dead, of course. But that schemer, the High Necromancer, sows rumors in the minds of the gullible townsfolk, pinning the blame on me.
How awful. How so?
He bloviates about how a red-haired, low-born she-elf witch will bring doom upon us, feeding into the superstitions that already surround me.
It's so nasty. Alright, well, we're always here if you've got good coin. 10 of these, 40 of these, you know what? Oh, wow, we are completely broke, so that kind of answers that. Alrighty, so let a little bit of time pass. Oh, okay, let's, you know what? 3v3. One last arena. 3 knights again. Any of you particularly large or small? Oh, wow, you are the smallest one, so we're gonna gun you first, sir. And you first, and I think you had the most hit points, so you last. Here we go. Oh my gosh, that long axe is so brutal. Knocks off like a third of their life in one shot. I think this is pretty much in hand. No one's even taking any real damage because they're all tanks and they don't do damage. Alright. 3 kills, 61, 31. Interesting. He does way more than she does. Little spoiler alert. That will not last forever. She is going to get really, really good. Health potion? Nope, strength potion. I'll hang on to that. Well, alright, so now that we have seen the Ring of Death a couple of times, have an idea of how the events work, the last thing that's going to happen on Cycle is discounts. So this is the item shop will go on discount during this period. So whenever you notice that coming up, it's a good idea to save money for that and updates, sorry, so that you can get the best selection. And then at the end of the month, we will owe Gladiator wages, so total of 24, and then we will get to fight a championship, which is located at the graveyard. This graveyard is the first of 12 arenas that are going to appear as we go along the map, and this one has 5 fights for us, and that will happen next episode. So that'll be it for episode 1. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.